side. Show the world where you're from. Show them where you're from. Show the world we are one.
Welcome to Viva Brazil 2014. This is a show that gives you all the highlights, all the news, all the briefs from the World Cup 2014 in Brazil as well as in Kenya. Remember, we have our very own Bernard Ndong in Brazil. Today, he is in Rio de Janeiro, and he'll be giving us a story of how yesterday the fans were celebrating or mourning their team's wins and losses. Also in the studio on our substitution bench, it's very, very interesting. We've got very interesting guests. But before we get to that, Waiga Maura has some stuff for us.
Right, thank you very much, Michael Kinyo. Of course, always a pleasure to be doing Viva Brazil. Remember, this is an out-of-the-box show. We've never seen anything like this anywhere on TV, and we keep coming up with new and interesting ideas just so that, and as we're getting on social media here, to make football interesting for those of you who may not have been football fans before the World Cup. Now we have our shopping, we have a magic wall where you can look at all the statistics, reviews and so forth, but this is like our shopping wall because these are all our jerseys and some of them will be giving them out to the guests who come on the show. So keep watching and you'll find out how you can do that. But for now, this is Brazil and this is representative of the host country, so this is their jersey. And then the big game for tonight, the three lions there, that's England. And of course here is Uruguay, and they'll be facing off tonight. And I also have a Uruguay jersey as well. Now down here, let's take a look at what we have. Ivory Coast versus Colombia, the early kickoff match, that's at 7 p.m. And Japan versus Greece, the late match, that's at 1 a.m. So this is just to give you an idea of what sort of matches you can expect tonight, beginning with Ivory Coast, Colombia, moving on to Uruguay and England, that's at 10 p.m. And at 1 a.m., Japan versus Greece. And I hand you over to Sidi Garama with our social.
Thank you, Wahiga. Well, the defending champions are defending no more after having lost 2 consecutive World Cup matches, becoming the first defending champions ever to be kicked out of the tournament after only 2 matches. Well, Brazil 2014 has proved to be interesting, and welcome to the show that gives you anything and everything to do with this tournament. I'm Sidi Garama, and I will be taking you through social media. The hashtag we're using for Facebook and Twitter is Viva Brazil. We're also taking in SMSs on 22422. Facebook was down for a while, but it's back on. And now we're also on Instagram too, so you can send us images on there using the hashtag Viva Brazil. So let's get the conversation started. Over to you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Sidi. And Wahiga, somebody asked me, you guys, you always do Viva Brazil 2014. Do you get to watch those matches or you just get the highlights? And I was telling them, we get to watch the matches. That is how we work. We work until 4 in the morning. Watch all the matches, because how do we analyze those matches for you if we don't watch them? That is what I tell them. But yesterday, everyone was saying adios España. That is goodbye Spain. Spain were beaten 2-0 by Chile, effectively ending their World Cup defense dreams. Well, Wahiga, it's very interesting that every time, these are stories we've covered in the Kenyan Premier League, every time, and I'll not shy away from mentioning the teams, every time AFC Leopards or Gor Mahia are playing big matches, you'll have running battles between fans and the police outside the stadium, because there are people who have tickets or don't have tickets and they're trying to get into the stadium because of 1 or 2 confusions. Well, that is something that happened yesterday at the Maracana. You'll never believe it, that in a big stage like the World Cup, the same problems that we have locally are happening there. Well, we get into that story, and 85 football fans who invaded the FIFA Media Center at the Maracana Stadium in Rio de Janeiro during last night's match between Spain and Chile have been ordered to leave Brazil within 72 hours. The fans who did not have tickets were earlier detained by the military police in Rio de Janeiro as they tried to make their way into the stadium. They broke the fences and overran the private security officers, but were subsequently contained by the Rio de Janeiro State Police. Citizen TV's Bernard Ndong, who is in Rio de Janeiro, was at the stadium prior to kickoff and paints a picture of how some of these football fans could have been frustrated due to the unavailability of tickets for that match.
By noon, thousands of Chilean football fans are already making their way to the stadium, where Chile would be facing a wounded Spain, which had been humbled by the Netherlands in their first World Cup match. The Chileans were confident of a victory, and they made their way to the stadium in any means possible. One of the most preferred ways to head to the stadium was via the subway. And as you can see, the subway was full, and in every stop, more people were coming in. The train was so full to such an extent that it was difficult to know if you had reached your destination. But for the Chilean fans, they seemed not to be bothered, as they sang and cheered all the way to the venue despite the discomfort. This football fan from the United Kingdom was only too excited to get an opportunity to watch the match.
Transport's been fabulous. We got from Namarik, we went to the Argentinian Bosnia game, got here on the same train, fabulous, got through the stadium.
The Chilean fans' support went up a notch once they reached the iconic Maracanã Stadium, where Spain, their former colonial masters, would be facing their national football team in a must-win World Cup tie. The walkway to the stadium, with a seating capacity of more than 76,000 people, was awash with Chilean fans, with only a handful of Spanish fans visible. It was easy to assume that most of these fans who were walking into the Maracanã Stadium had the much-valued ticket, but unfortunately, as we found out, not everyone who was walking to the stadium had that ticket. Numerous signs in various languages, all requesting for the same thing, a ticket.
I came here late and I don't have any tickets, so I'm looking for tickets here, and no one's selling any. So I don't know, I'm gonna die if I don't go in.
Yeah, it was just last minute for us. We didn't plan ahead. I need a ticket, yeah.
As they say in economics, demand and supply are interrelated.
How much I will pay for the tickets? I don't know. 100, 200, 300 dollars.
We met this group of men discussing in hushed tones, and we soon found out why. A business transaction involving tickets for the Spain-Chile game was underway. Let's see how much this gentleman bought the tickets for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, $700. That's about 60,000 Kenya shillings, almost 4 times the FIFA retail price of 15,000 Kenya shillings for a ticket. When we asked him why he had bought tickets last minute, he seemed to have selective amnesia.
Go home.
You sold your tickets here.
No, I'm not going inside.
Well, first you can see here, this is a gentleman who just got his ticket. He had earlier told us that he had not bought a ticket, but as you can see, that's a ticket that he's holding there, that he bought. Just bought it a few minutes ago, just on this same spot. This couple believed the price was too steep and were rethinking their options.
It's going between $200 and $1,000, so in between there.
No, not for us though.
Yeah, for us, a couple hundred.
$250 each, and then we'll go to the beach bar. Otherwise
we'll go to the
we'll go back.
For the lucky ones, they managed to watch an entertaining clash as Spain were effectively bundled out of the World Cup, losing 2-0 to Chile. It was a case of La Roja of Chile humiliating La Roja of Spain. Reporting for Citizen Sports, I'm Bernard Ndong in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Interesting there. Remember, before we had the Michuki rules of Matatu. We used to say when you're going from one place to the other one, I'm javing.
That's what...
We still say that.
We still say that.
Or you don't choose Matatu.
Okay.
That's
No,
why
no, no.
you don't.
You use Matatu, yes. Michuki rules instigated discipline, whereby you cannot stand in a
Every
Matatu.
passenger must be seated with their belt on.
Exactly. So javing was that act of you're holding the Matatu, the rail up there.
The javelin.
So Ndong was javing yesterday actually in a train.
So when guys tell you they're abroad, be careful. That abroad, it might not be as rosy as you think.
How did you know the destination actually? Because they couldn't tell as you're going. I think that was the end of the train.
That was the end of the train. But one thing I'm glad is that he wasn't caught in that stampede.
Oh yes, that was crazy. And that is exactly what you're saying before that story. How did these guys break the fence, get in there? I think the similarities
Those are the fans.
I
think they've been handcuffed in the bus and they're being escorted by
95 of them. Look at this. This is us outside the media center.
And this is how it happened. You know, the media center, Michael Kini, had another door which would lead to the stadium, and that's what they wanted to access. Somebody told them, look, get through this media center and you'll be able to get in. But quickly, the officials on duty were able to alert the person manning the other door, close it.
And again, that was a falsehood, because I remember in 2010, the media centers and the stadiums are pretty much done the same. And what they do is that the media center is just adjacent to the stadium. There's a tunnel from the media center going all the way into the stadium. Actually, it takes you to the press box where you're supposed to sit. But it doesn't mean that if you have accreditation into the media center, you have access into the stadium. Because what they do is you apply for tickets to sit at the media center, because you're like 33,000 journalists. And at one point, all of you are in that stadium. So it means you apply, online, and then the next day, you can imagine, they say we've got 200 tickets for the media, and they have to read all the names one by one until the end. So when you have the tickets, there are like 4 checks before you get into the stadium. So there's nowhere they were going to go through, because there's a turnstile as well, so you can't just go through.
The interesting fact, Michael King, is that this is the second mini stampede. There was one also last week, the game between Argentina and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Maracana is a hot spot, so I think the police need to beef up security.
I only have one thing to say about that, and is that it just doesn't get any more passionate than that.
Well, we take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.